It's time for the news. Time for news that you missed. Oi, oi, oi. Hello, everyone. This is Adam from WrestleTalk covering the missed news that you might have missed. Missed news this week in news that you might have missed. I'm getting better at this. Number one, Toni Storm shoots on WWE. Walking out on WWE is not something that's been solely done by Naomi and Sasha Banks over the past year. Current AEW star Toni Storm did so after competing on a SmackDown house show last December and requested her release from the company due to burnout. The former NXT UK Women's Champion has discussed her decision to leave in a few interviews, but the latest to speak to Toni Storm was Renee Paquette on her podcast, The Sessions. It wasn't a lot of new information divulged, but it was by far the most unfiltered version of what was going through Toni's mind at the time of her departure from WWE. She said, "It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. A lot of people don't enjoy it at all. For some people, it just works out, and for others, it just makes them miserable. I guess I just fell into that category. I guess it just wasn't for me at that point. Let's face it, they just fire people left, right, and center out of the blue. I could be fired next week, and then it's like, what's the point? It just got very pointless, to be honest." Oof. And also, when prompted on her decision to quit, Toni Storm went on to say, "They just don't give a shit, so why should I?" And honestly, you can't say fairer than that. Number two, Bryan Danielson and Renee Paquette to reunite for The Session. Speaking of Renee Paquette, a special reunion will be going down as part of the StarCast 5 convention during SummerSlam weekend in Nashville. Many fans fell in love with the duo of Renee Paquette, then Renee Young, and Bryan Danielson, then Daniel Bryan, during their run on WWE's Talking Smack from 2016 to 2017. Their instant chemistry made them a beloved combination when Bryan was unable to compete in the ring and was SmackDown general manager on the show. Does anyone remember Big Hog? Big Hog. They will now reunite as part of a live interview for Renee's podcast Sessions, with Danielson now in AEW and tag team partners in the Blackpool Combat Club with Paquette's husband, Jon Moxley. There is a lot to discuss there. Talking Smack fans will be ecstatic. Number three, John Cena returning to Raw and targeting Theory. If you missed this week's WWE Raw, the company announced that John Cena will be making his return on the June 27th edition of the show in Laredo, Texas. This isn't just a random return for the face that runs the place either. The date marks the 20th anniversary of his debut on the WWE main roster. The announcement comes off the heels of Cena taking aim at current United States champion Theory. The artist formerly known as Austin Theory has been trading friendly jabs with Cena, saying his US title reign will be better than the Doctor of Thugonomics famed runs with the gold, especially his legendary 2015 reign that saw him introduce the US Championship Open Challenge. Cryptically on Instagram, Cena posted a photo from 2015 when he was attacked by Kevin Owens, who was making his main roster debut. With Cena down on the mat, Owens placed his foot on the United States Championship. To add to the likelihood of Cena and Theory crossing paths is a recent report that WWE Chairman Vince McMahon sees the US Champion as a young John Cena. It is the perfect opportunity for a past versus future feud this summer. Number four, Mustafa Ali main event. Someone else with his focus on the United States Championship was Mustafa Ali. The Chicago native came home to face the champion Theory at Hell in a Cell, and in typical WWE fashion, the popular hometown hero went out in a blaze of glory, losing clean. On the post Hell in a Cell edition of Raw, there was no sign of the former Retribution leader. Ali took to Twitter to let the fans know where he will be seen next, saying, "Main event Mustafa returns this week on Hulu. Hashtag WWE main event. Hashtag WWE Raw." It looks like Mustafa Ali will be reminded of his former group in this main event showdown facing T-Bar. Hey, at least it was a victory for the popular star. Silver lining, right? The countdown on his current WWE deal is down to 2 years left. Just by the way. Number five, Matt Hardy compares Judgment Day turning on Edge to Hardy Family Office turning on him. The major talking point coming out of Monday's Raw was the Judgment Day stable of Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, and newest member Finn Balor inconspicuously turning on the man who brought them all together, Edge. Even after learning that pitch to make the group supernatural led to Edge's removal, it doesn't still make sense. Well, one of Edge's greatest rivals, Matt Hardy, was able to relate to the rated R superstar. He took to Twitter comparing the betrayal of Edge to a similar betrayal he experienced in AEW, with a side-by-side photo of the Hardy Family Office turning on Matt on the March 9th edition of Dynamite, with Judgment Day turning on Edge. The Broken One wrote, "Young kids don't have any respect for their mentors nowadays." Number six, Pat McAfee may miss Clash at the Castle. Missing from the commentary table at WWE Hell in a Cell last Sunday was SmackDown's Pat McAfee. After all, there was only one SmackDown match on the entire card, so only Michael Cole was forced to make the trip for that. It might not be the last major event that the former NFL punter will miss this year. On the latest edition of the Pat McAfee Show, everyone's favorite Shinsuke Nakamura cheerleader interviewed UFC owner Dana White to promote the UFC 275 event in Singapore. After talking about UFC working with Saudi Arabia in a similar fashion to how WWE does, yes, this was a fun, not at all awkward conversation, Dana White invited McAfee and his podcast team to come to the UFC's event on September 3rd in Paris, France. Pat replied with, "We're in without hesitation, possibly not realizing this is the same day as WWE Clash at the Castle in Cardiff, Wales. However, Pat McAfee has missed various events over the last 2 years, including the aforementioned Hell in a Cell and last October's Crown Jewel event in Saudi. Number 7, Daniel Garcia explains his hat. Sometimes a new mentor can change so many things about you, including your fashion sense. One person who can attest to this is AEW's Daniel Garcia. The Jericho Appreciation Society member has been breaking out in an assortment of Kangol hats since joining the group helmed by the Demo God. Appearing on Chris Jericho's Talk is Jericho podcast with the rest of JAS, Garcia explained what inspired his new fashion calling card, saying, "In real life, I'm really into streetwear and workwear, stuff like that. I wear really baggy clothing, but I knew I couldn't do baggy pants and a baggy shirt. I would look like I was 120 pounds soaking wet." And it's funny because on my Snapchat, something popped up at my wrestling school that I train at. My trainer has a Shawn Michaels costume from the 90s, and it came with the leather hat. And this is my first couple of months of training, I put it on backwards and I do Triple H impressions at the gym, like when he was on Tough Enough. I used to do that at the gym all the time when I first started, and I just thought to myself, man, I really want to wear this on TV this week. Number 8, Thunder Rosa nearly accepted non-wrestling role in WWE. AEW Women's World Champion Thunder Rosa returned to our television screens this week in a successful defense over Marina Shafir on Dynamite after being left off the post Double or Nothing edition. Despite reports of her frustration with her booking in All Elite Wrestling, Rosa has accomplished a lot in the company as well as in NWA. This success wouldn't have been possible if she'd accepted an offer from WWE years ago. It's previously been discussed that La Mera was offered a role as a full-time referee in Vince McMahon's promotion. In a new interview with Sportskeeda Wrestling, Thunder Rosa confirmed those reports, saying, "It is true. When you are, again, in need of a job and you're tired of hustling, when you're tired, when you feel defeated, sometimes we'll call it trying to sell your soul to the devil," right? Thank God for that Saint Tony. We now get to see Thunder Rosa as a champion on mainstream television. Well, sometimes. Number 9, Sean Waltman upset with Kane over controversial take. One of the Attitude Era's greatest odd couple tag teams was Kane and X-Pac. The two men bonded and became a popular duo on their way to 2 runs with the WWF Tag Team Championships in 1999. They would split by the end of the year when X-Pac chose reuniting with DX and stealing Kane's girlfriend Tori in a confusing and overlong storyline. It seems like those hostilities have arisen again in real life off some opposing takes on a hot-button topic at the moment. Kane, now known by his real name Glenn Jacobs, is the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, and has used his platform to give his opinion on the amount of gun violence in the United States at the moment. This has become a tragic, never-ending story in mainstream news cycles. Kane took to Twitter this week to share a video showcasing reported statistics that downplay the amount of gun violence there is in America in comparison to other countries. Kane also issued the following tweet in regards to the video, saying, "Every violent death is a tragedy. That said, the mainstream media would have you believe that America is the land of gun violence and mass shootings, when in fact, as Hannah D. Cox points out, our per capita rates of gun deaths are actually much lower than many other countries." In response to this, X-Pac, real name Sean Waltman, quote tweeted to say, "Breaks my heart reading this from you. What the f***?" And number 10, Ezekiel uncertain if he's related to Max Dupri. Closing things out on a more fun topic this week once again, Ezekiel has become one of the most entertaining new characters in WWE. The rookie, who is definitely not his older brother Elias, and we will not hear otherwise, came up short against Kevin Owens at last Sunday's Hell in a Cell premium live event. Despite the striking resemblances to his sibling, he is not the only WWE star fans have said looks like the Raw star. LA Knight, now known as Max Dupri, has also been compared to Ezekiel due to their similar features. Speaking with Graham GSM Matthews, Zeke commented on the resemblance, saying, "Now, I have seen Max Dupri, or formerly LA Knight. I do see some of the similarities. I certainly see that, but I can tell you, unless there are some distant relatives I'm unaware of, which is very possible, I don't believe we are related, though." So I guess he's saying there's a chance. Family reunions always bring the feels. And that's our list. What's been your favorite piece of wrestling news this week? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and share this video around if you enjoyed it, and never forget to jam that jam.